Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, would we serve? Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace, all bow to honor, and this feet can't escape. To hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. In soul, peace, and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. I'm very impressed. Let's give ourselves a round of applause.
He has been a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly since 2003 and has served contribution to democracy and good governance. Some of his notable achievements include longest serving member of the Lagos State House of Assembly and Sub-Saharan West Africa. Please, can you give him a round of applause?
The Right Honorable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa has been conferred with honorary doctorate degree and chieftaincy titles by various institutional and traditional rulers, such as PhD honorary causa in political science by the prestigious Joseph Ayo Deli Babalola University, Jabu, the Bar Shofi of Lagos by His Royal Majesty Oba Rilwan Usholole Aremu the Oba of Lagos, Bajumo of Egbaland by the Alake of Egba, His Royal Majesty Oba Nirotu Aremu Gbadebo III.
Esteemed guests, we are gathered here today celebrating the silver jubilee of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, a milestone that is worthy of recognition and celebration. Since May 29, 1999, we have consistently upheld the principles of representation, accountability, and rule of law. We have ensured that power is transferred peacefully, that dissenting voices are heard, and our institutions remain strong and independent. Ladies and gentlemen, our democracy has endured despite challenges and setbacks. We have faced elections, protests, debates, and our commitment to democracy has remained unwavering. We have demonstrated that democracy is not a destination, but a journey. And we are proud to be on this path. As we mingle and network tonight, let us acknowledge the heroes of our democracy, past and present, who have fought tirelessly to entrench democratic values in our land. Let us celebrate our achievements and acknowledge the progress we have made. Tonight, we honor sacrifices of those who fought tooth and nail for democracy we enjoy today. We remember the likes of Chief MKO Abiola and his wife, Kudirat Abiola, who paid the ultimate price in the struggle for democratic governance. The sacrifices of all heroes have made it possible for us to gather here tonight, enjoying the fruit of democracy. We are able to assemble freely, to express our opinions openly, and to participate in democratic process without fear of persecution. These are rights that were hard-won, and we must never take them for granted. Of course, we also remember inglorious activities of those who were against democracy in Nigeria, the likes of General Babangida, General Sani Abacha, General Chris Ali, Professor Humphrey Umbosu, Babangana Kingipi, Tony Aneni, Chief Uche Chukwumelije, Daniel Kanu, Atoyin Seribe.
For those who understandably are impatient with the democracy, I hear them. It can be a tedious way to govern. And there's perhaps no better person to express that to you than the Speaker of the House, having to work with 39 other members to reach decisions. And then, as if that wasn't easy or difficult enough, the executive arm having to bring perhaps a money bill to Parliament, and then by the time it comes out, it has changed what it looks like. The skirt is probably longer, they removed one arm, and when you go there, they say, but our constituency. And we need to understand this. But for those who are impatient with it, listen, there is no better way to order our affairs. I will not trade the liberties that it offers for anything else. And so I hear some of those frustrations, if you like, with the process when they now say, oh, Nigeria is not a federal state, it's a unitary state. It's this, there's power too much here, there's power too much there, and we should take it off. But I disagree with them, they are wrong. We are a federal state, and let me tell you why. A federal country, federal state, whatever. Let me tell you why. We have multi-level legislative houses, from the local councils to the National Assembly. We have multi-level judicial systems, from the customary courts to the various magistrate states, federal and appellate courts. We are appellate courts. We also have different levels of government exercising different forms of responsibilities. And this you will find in the exclusive and the concurrent list. And of course, what is not in those two lists is the residual authority that retains and resides in all the states. So, for example, I say that the National Assembly cannot make laws on matters relating to landlord and tenant, for example. They can't make laws about rent control. That is the preserve of each state. So, and I ask how many of us are really using these powers of landlord and tenant laws, rent control, to protect our citizens from Shylock landlords. This House once passed a similar law, reducing it from, I think, 3 years to 1 year. It has had its impact. But at this time of very severe economic challenges and cost of living issues, I think we can go back. And I think if we give our people the opportunity to get 3 months or 6 months rent, to pay 6 months, at the worst in advance, we would have helped in no small way. But I leave Mr. Speaker to think about that. I think that when you see skits, and let me dwell in this a minute, because it would be remiss of me not to use this opportunity. I think we've seen skits and we've watched videos where when the landlord comes knocking, the parents go into hiding. And they tell their children, go and tell the landlord I am not at home. But in the innocence of youth, some of those children will say, my daddy said I should tell you that he's not at home. Because the boy child is confused. But that is not the story. The story is the undignified situation that that parent faces because he has to bring out rent in advance of what he has had. So if I was a legislator, this is one area where I will be very busy, and I leave the matter there.
Honorable Speaker of the House, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Representative of the House, dear colleagues of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media here present, all protocol observed. Good evening, everyone. It's a great honor and a privilege to be able to speak before you as Consul General in France in Lagos, as I feel particularly privileged as we commemorate today 25 years of democratic governance in Nigeria. A big round of applause first. I would like to rejoice with Nigerians at how far they have come, and with them to express my hopes for the future as I reflect on what democracy has been in Nigeria. Over 64 years of independence, democracy has certainly been put to the test, as Nigeria was led by military regimes for nearly 30 years. The First Republic lasted 6 years, you know, the second 4 years and 3 months, while the Third Republic ended before it ever began, as the military ruler annulled the June 1993 presidential elections. 1999 marked a turning point when the transition from military to civilian rule and the beginning of the Fourth Republic, which turned out to become the longest period of democracy in Nigeria's political history. Coming from France, a country that proudly remembers those who helped build its institutions, its successive constitutions, the sacrifices made to protect them from authoritarian, I can only appreciate that in Nigeria today, people do not forget those who have paid the price, the ultimate price to fight for democracy and human rights. But all those as well who have had the courage and the wisdom to work towards a democratic transition. Today, 63%, roughly speaking, of Nigerians are aged under 25. It means that 63% of them were born during the Fourth Republic. It means that they have to rely on the previous generation to remind them of what military regimes were. It also means that they must learn to see democracy for what it is, and it is not a state of perfection. It is something for which they have to fight for every day, and you have to learn them. It is a process that must always be deepened and strengthened. This is a political structure that should aim at giving everyone a voice in order to create a fairer society.
For your kind invitation to my wife and myself, and thank you very much for this wonderful gathering with so many lively Nigerians. There is actually this year in 2024 an interesting parallel between Nigeria and Germany. You are celebrating now 25 years of democracy. We are celebrating right now 75 years of democracy under the basic law, as we call our constitution, that was set up in 1949 after the horrors of the Nazi regime and the Second World War. So it's a clear parallel. Currently, only last month, on the 23rd of May, we had a big festival of democracy in Germany on this occasion of 75 years of basic law. But, as we all know, democracy is not something that you just install and then leave it as it is. It doesn't work like that. All of us, whether in Germany or Nigeria or other democratic countries, we have to fight for democracy every day. And I can assure you, and that's also the feeling in Europe, in the near future, we may even have to fight more for democracy, because many countries and many tendencies in some areas of the world are not in favor of democratic structures. Now, if you look at peace, freedom, and democracy, there are two more aspects that, according to our experience under the Basic Law in Germany, are most important. One definitely, and it was mentioned before also by the Honorable Speaker, is the rule of law. Without the rule of law in your own democratic system, there is no fair participation and fair compromise wherever it is needed in your state structures.
So, so as mothers, as women, 25 years of democracy in Nigeria, how has Nigeria fared? Unfortunately, we've done not too well. When I was in parliament, we were about, I think, 27. Today, they are less than 9. The Lagos House of Assembly used to be, I think, 7. Today, they are 4. Nigeria today is at the lowest rung of the ladder in Africa. The lowest rung of the ladder in Africa. So I think 4.4% in the national, in the state, 3.6% at the state level. We have not done very well. And I think we have to do better. And what should we do about this? We are here, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, thank you for me. We are here, Mr. Speaker. I think the parliament should be able to look at some legislation. It's not easy. We're not saying we want a free ride, but let's have a level playing field. That's what we're asking for. Mr. Speaker is saying ha. The women, you are not clapping for ourselves, though. Political parties. Where's our chairman? Pastor, let us see your face. Please stand up. You have to be intentional about supporting women. It's not just about collecting free form. You have to be intentional. Give us a level playing field. We have women that are qualified, educated, and if you say any position, we have women that can fill those positions anywhere in this Nigeria. So we are holding you responsible today. Come 2027, we want 70%. But you know why it may happen? Let me tell you why it may happen. When I was in parliament, Lagos had 3 women. And who was our leader then? Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if Lagos will have 3 women, I think under him we can do much better than we have done. So we're very optimistic. So really politically, we need a better playing field, and we can do it. And therefore, women ourselves, this message is to you.
Honorable Speaker of the House, Dr. Mudashiru Obasa, Honorable Representatives of Lagos State House of Assembly, distinguished colleagues of the Diplomatic Corps, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate with you the 25 years of democratic governance in Nigeria. Democracy is a fundamental principle enshrined in the Italian Constitution, and last year we celebrated 70 years since the entry into force of the Italian Republican Constitution on the 1st January of 1948. And a few days ago also, here in Lagos, we celebrated Italian National Day, which marks the anniversary of the Italian referendum, where the Italian people chose the Republican form. And that was the first time that after more than 25 years, Italian people went to vote, and also it was the first time ever that Italian women went to vote. In the last 75 years, of course, many things changed, but Italy remains strongly committed to reinforce democratic values and institutions at home and abroad, and actively supports also the European Union's international efforts to strengthen democracy as the universal rights underpinning it, as set out in the EU's funding treaties.
My country is united with yours in our commitment to the principal pillars of democracy, namely freedom, justice, inclusion, and accountability. We're committed to protecting, strengthening, and promoting this democracy. But there are many reasons for that commitment. States with democratic governments guarantee fundamental individual rights. They allow for a relatively higher level of political equality, and they rarely go to war with one another. However, authoritarian practices, including in West Africa, continue to challenge the international order and contribute to a decline in democratic freedoms globally. Democratic states face challenges such as foreign threats to our elections and electoral processes, disinformation, and physical and cyber threats to our democratic institutions and to those who represent them. So in these challenging times, it is important that we support each other in our shared commitment to democracy. Through initiatives led by Nigerian partners, the UK has worked to support the strengthening of electoral systems. However, we all know that democracy is not just about elections. It is much more about the core institutions that support those elections. And so we have supported the bodies and processes that provide accountability. We have supported parliamentary reforms, we have supported legislative reforms, and we have supported civil society and the media. We're currently working with partners to support efforts to increase women's participation in politics and government, and we heard a powerful speech in favour of that earlier. And we are glad to be part of this journey whenever we are invited to be, and that is critical because this journey can only be a Nigerian journey.
What I'm asked to do here is to tell a story, give a lecture, and analyze the situation within the last 25 years. But we don't have the luxury of time, so I'm going to summarize. I actually have a paper, 20-page paper, that I will have, but then I'm here. Going into etymology of democracy, it presupposes that democracy is the power of the people, but that is nebulous. Just like the Lincolnian democracy or definition of democracy. Actually, Abraham Lincoln was not defining democracy, he was only expressing his wishes, the way he thought democracy should be. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is also nebulous. It has no form. It has no meaning. Kratos, demos kratos, it's Latin, I think, or nationalized Greek, was grafted together to give us what is now democracy. Meaning that the people are the object and subject of what true practice of democracy should be. The people should be the ones that will be controlling the affairs of their lives through their freely elected representative, which the parliament is supposed to be. Because in some cases, even the parliament are dictated to. It happens in the days of Obasa, when members of the House of Assembly will be harassed or rounded up, taken to a remote place, given an instruction that their governor should be impeached, and the governor will stand impeached. It happens in about 2 or 3 cases. That was not democracy. If democracy were to be what it's supposed to be a government that satisfies the needs of majority of the people. And that is why when they say majority will always have their way, even when the minority have their say. But then in most cases, it is the minority that is actually imposing their wills and caprices on the majority. Why should it be like that? Sometimes we make pretenses to conducting periodic election. But a lot of people are disenfranchised, directly or indirectly. Directly by not registering them for elections. Indirectly by ensuring that the processes of election does not go smoothly. You knew what happened before June 12th election. About 30 political associations that wanted to transmit to political parties were banned. About 23 political parties were also banned. They didn't allow them to contest elections. Several politicians that wanted to contest elections were not allowed. That was not democracy. It was dictatorship. Election held under option A4, open secret ballot system, which didn't guarantee your right to privacy. That was not democracy. Election held, and around 6 p.m., the announcement of the results was stopped by the powers that be. People who voted didn't have the result of their efforts. That was not democracy.
It's such an honor today to be here with you today as we celebrate Democracy Day in Nigeria. And what a tremendous and appropriate location to do so. This legislature, the branch of government that dictators and despots fear because it's where so much of the people's work gets done, is such a fitting location for this kind of gathering. That balance of power, checks and balances, refereed by a justice system and the rule of law, whose strengthening was certainly solidified in 1999. So many people, sung and unsung, have had a hand in Nigeria's democratic story and in the return to democracy in 1999 that we celebrate today. As a historian, I know, and I know that Speaker Obasa shares the idea that democracy is a continuous work of generations, a process and not an endpoint. Clearly, the Bellos and Ezequiels and Awolowos and the Abiolas are fundamental to the telling of this story, as too are the countless civil society groups, media outlets, activists, and journalists who played pivotal roles in advocating for democracy, human rights, and good governance in Nigeria over the span of generations.
And we cannot have a strong democracy if we don't have a strong economy. There is a very strong relationship between a vibrant democracy and a very vibrant economy. So, my appeal to all the major actors in the democratic space is to see what they can do using their powers of legislation, of oversight, of appropriation, of whatever it is, to support investment. Because investment is tough. An entrepreneur in Nigeria is like an orphan. You are like an orphan. And that is why we must make this democracy work for the private sector and for investment. And I must also say that we are not having enough interface between the political actors and the investors. We need to have an interface that is more robust, more regular, more periodic. And when I'm talking about investors or private sector, I'm not just talking about the multinationals or the conglomerates. I'm talking also about our market women, about our artisans, about our informal sector people. Because this is where the jobs are. The private sector accounts for about 80% of the revenue. They account for over 40% of over 80% of the jobs, employment. They are the drivers of innovation and transformation of the economy. But the frustrations are quite enormous.
We have a lot to do to represent our people, protect their interests, and make sure their rights are well protected. And all this we want to assure you, we will continue to do. We will do it in such manner that our people will continue to support our great party, Alliance for Democracy.
Our speakers. So we're going to spell democracy together. Are you ready, people? Give me a D, E, M, O, C, R, A, C, Y, and that is democracy.
We sure hope you enjoyed this video. For more entertaining video content such as behind the scenes of music videos and movies, music concerts, premieres, interviews, and exclusive gists, subscribe now to our YouTube channel GoldmyneTV and be unleashed into a world of super excitement.